This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, the Glick, what's going on?
Hey, John. Well, I guess we could say that, tonight's podcast is all your fault, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because this is actually was John's birthday present to me a couple months back. And like it was something we've been meaning to talk about for a while now. But the thing is, like, John really made like a good call about, like what to get me. Like, and yeah, it's like I'm gonna like elaborate on this because it's like this is something that I was interested in, but just thought, do I want to like spend this even with the Amazon discount? But then John made that choice for me. I was like, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate this because like I was probably gonna read this stuff eventually, but you saved me the trouble, man. So yeah, thanks.
Well, you're very welcome. So let's talk about it, right?
Yeah. So what this stuff actually is the series of One Bad Day one shots that DC published regarding some of Batman's greatest villains. Now, it's like if you're wondering like where this like branding comes from, it comes from like The Killing Joke, basically one of the all-time great Batman stories. Basically, like what that Alan Moore wrote with artwork by Brian Boland, basically offers a modern interpretation of the origin of the Joker. Basically, this one shot essentially like established like the idea of like what the Joker's origin is going to be for the like for that time. And I've always felt that hey, if you can't like have this be the definitive origin of the Joker, then hey, just do like as many origins of the Joker as you can. And that's basically what DC has done over the years. But there's no denying the fact that this is still one of the best like Batman Joker stories ever told. One that like basically like establishes their it's like how like similar they are in mindset without it seeming like a like a tired trope or or obvious cliche. It's like it's it's really it's still like as entertaining as it was back in the day, and I really appreciate how at least this version of this edition of the story also like goes to lengths to include like artist Brian Boland's other like Joker stories, like such as like his illustration bit for Who's Who, the 2-page origin of the Joker that Mark Waid did, and also the Innocent Guy story that was done in the original Batman Black and White about a regular dude who decides, it's like, how can I decide what is best and what is better to be good or bad? And I'm just going to go ahead and try and kill the Batman in order to determine that. It's a good compilation for like for that stuff. In addition to the original story from Alan Moore and Brian Boland, so like having this like this story like anchor the collection, it's like is good, but having it serve as the like inspiration of the story of like this like entire like series of 8 one shots about Batman's greatest villains. Well, we'll see how that goes. But John, you got any other like thoughts about like The Killing Joke?
I mean, it's a classic. That's what I can say. And yeah, it's interesting that they decided to use this to pivot off of, right? So I think that that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I mean there's no doubt in my mind this is probably one of my favorite volumes that's on my shelf outside of this second volume of the same thing that I have. I like it. I'm not going to get rid of the original one. I do like that one. I like this one. So, I mean, it's the same thing. Actually, I heard that some of the coloring that the colorings are based on the original, so there is a reason maybe potentially to keep it, even if you have the original. But outside of that, there's no change. There's no difference in the story, and it's definitely a story that's it's interesting just some of the we'll see how it kind of measures
Yeah.
up. Is Jack Napier, by the way, which is a name that was coined out of the 1989 Batman movie.
Hmm.
It did not exist before that, I don't think. That's the name of it's essentially it's a Joker origin story of type. So, and not like the one that was in the theaters a couple of years ago. Not like that. That's a totally like independent type of a thing. But this one is definitely worthy of being on everyone's shelf. So much so, I'm not going to even try to spoil it for you. But outside of the fact that I just told you the name of the guy.
Yeah, it's basically like, yeah, it's a Joker origin story, but it's arguably the best. And but the thing is, like, DC was just not content to have this be the only origin story for the Joker. And as he mentioned in the Dark Knight, the film, like, I can't have, like, if I have an origin, I'd rather it have be multiple choice. So that's basically, like, the approach, like, I appreciate, like, things going for here. But the thing is, for but the whole idea of the Killing Joke was that it was that the Joker, like, was predicated on the idea that, hey, it took was one bad day for me to wind up the way that I was. And that led to this like, branded series of one shots about all the other major Batman villains who may have had, like, one bad day. It's like, at some point in order to, like, determine their lives, or did they, or is it just, like, clever branding that, had these had DC, like, throwing, like, lots of talented creators, like writers and artists, like at these concepts, and just, let's say, hey, do what you can, and feel free to be constrained by continuity or not. So this, because, like, some of these stories are meant to be constrained by current continuity. Others, um like, actually, they try to, like, tell the stories within the margins of existing, like, bad continuity, which may or may not have been outdated, like, the time I get at this time that I read them. So that being said, like, going in a particular order from where they're collected, we come to the Ra's al Ghul story, by Tom writer Tom Taylor and artist Ivan Rice, called Batman Won't Save You. Now, Ra's al Ghul is one of those, like, Batman villains who has a point. It's like, he thinks that, like, that the humanity is killing the planet, and that, like, taking them out is, like, the only only way to, like, save the planet, and, allow for us to, like, continue living on there. But the story basically starts off with, like, his origin story, as, like, his village is being raised by bandits as a child, and as he's about to be killed by one of the bandits, he's saved by the by some friendly wolves. And so that basically starts him on his path of, like, of eco-terrorism. This is, he realized that, hey, like, the planet, like, is going to, like, determine who's going to live and all. And while the story does have, like, like its feet in current continuity, in the sense that, it has Batman, trying to solve the mystery of, like, who's killing these like these modern, like consortium or conglomerate orders, like, basically, like, billionaires who are, like, you're just, like, you're running the planet the way they want. And Damian is his Robin, helping him sort things out. But it turns out that, Ra's al Ghul is taking a much more measured approach to saving the world. He's just, killing all the um worst billionaires, and just leaving it to their, to their just to their heirs, in order to, like, to right their wrongs. But the thing is, though, like, yeah, hey, he's still killing people, and Batman's not going to stand for that. So what does so what's Batman going to do when Raish's plan is actually going to be for the benefit of the Earth? And that's what I liked about this. It's like, even though it's like, it's like, it does kind of, take a, like, fairly straightforward sense in terms of morality. It basically does challenge Batman's, own moral compunctions, in the sense that, hey, yeah, like, Raish is actually found a way to, like, make the world better, and that if you try and bring him to justice, then you're just going to undo the rightness that he's done. and I like that. It's got it does have like a nice challenge to Batman's moral authority, and it's got some like really great bold art from Ivan Rice, who does like really stand out work here. It's like, and I do like how it wrapped up like with Al Ghul, not like smug in his in his acceptance of the win, but just understanding that hey, now I no longer have to scream like in agony after having been brought back to life. So, so I like this. Like John.
Like yes, I did. I like this quite a bit. The art is good. Everything's captured. It's very nice. It's yeah, this is a good story. I like the way it represented Ra's al Ghul, and I think that yeah, I have to agree with you on this one. It's just good. I do like the art. I think the expressiveness in Ra's face and expressions and the everything about that's great. So
Yeah, and you heard David Warner's voice whenever like Ra's was speaking, right?
oh, 100%, man. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like yeah, I said this is like a good story to like start things off with. But then we come to a Clayface, no notes. Um, and John, did you recognize the names of the guys who wrote this? Colin Kelly and Jackson Langzig.
No.
Okay, because they're the guys who did the Star Trek Year 5 story that we talked about last year.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, now I know.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's like, well, these guys have done decent stories elsewhere, and also in the Star Trek universe. And this one, well, I think that they just kind of like took the most obvious route out with a Clayface story, in the sense that Basil Carlo has like left Gotham and come to Los Angeles in order to make his name and try and like be a proper Hollywood actor, and just bring some honesty to the to the stories being told here. And well, things don't go his way at all, because after his initial arc auditioning for, believe it or not, a film version of The Killing Joke is met with like rejection and arguably ridicule. It's like he finds out that one of his co-workers at the restaurant he works at has got the part because they like the lightness he brought to his role as the proto Joker. And then, well, Clayface doesn't take that well, and so like his part he assumes he kills his friend, assumes his life, and then tries to take over his role on in this film. Things don't go well after this, as you'd expect. And it's basically one big story about hey, Hollywood is full of superficiality, it's like, and artifice, and some people just like want to take the easy way out in terms of telling a story, and Clayface just kind of succumbs to that. It feels like a really obvious like tale about just like who you have to be in order to make it in show business, and that was kind of disappointing. I mean, like all the artists in this lineup, like Hermanico does really solid work here. But my issue with it was that it just felt like you were just taking like the most obvious like showbiz like parody satire stuff here, and it in this and this is just the idea that Clayface was like the guy who had the integrity. He just like went and ate everyone who didn't agree with him. It's like, it's so tragic. So I don't know. It's like I just kind of was hoping that they were going to do something more imaginative, like just hey, maybe just have him be like the conduit to bring like all of the crazy people from Gotham and get them involved in like making a movie about, it's like about Joker, or about just what life is like in Gotham when you're living under Batman's thumb. It's like just some other thing that just hey, I've got integrity, but you don't agree with me, so I'm going to eat you. That's what we get here. So good times and all.
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, yeah, just not a strong offering in my opinion. I think it's okay. It's just, you know, this just like is the compounding lie almost. Like you almost see this in sitcoms, right?
Yeah,
And it's sort of like, oh well, Clayface wants to do the thing, and he I never got a sense out of this story that it was just simply one bad day. It was just more of a, well, Clayface tried to do a thing and didn't work, and he lost control, and then he assumed all these personalities, and then that's about it. It's like, so not the strongest offering in this set, I would say.
yeah, and also I will say it's kind of like hard. There are some stories where it's kind of hard to tell, like, what is the one bad day they're talking about here.
Exactly. So like, is it like, yeah. So I mean, this theme, and what we can talk a little bit more about this after we're done our last volume here, but yeah, this theme kind of goes back and forth, and we'll kind of get around to some of those. But this one will be one of those ones where it was like, don't see it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's a little easier to see in the next volume, which is all about Bane, who his one. Well, I mean, like it's not like his wasn't necessarily his one bad day was also like his best day. The best day where he took out Batman. He broke Batman's back, and let him reign over Gotham afterwards. So, but the thing is though, it's like that's kind of like been the story that's defined Bane like for decades. And even though like there's been a lot of like great efforts to try now like move him beyond that, well, it's like Bane's always going to be the guy who was specifically crafted to defeat Batman so that Batman can have the story where he got better and then reassumed the mantle of being Batman and all. Like the whole Nightfall, the whole Nightfall storyline. But and this story by Joshua Williamson and some like intricate like almost overly detailed art from Howard Porter basically like has basically like has Bane reckoning with like that status like we're introduced to him, like this is a storyline that's like clearly out of continuity in the sense that it's Bane years after his breaking of the bat, um also of his like City of Bane storyline from Tom King and Batman. But basically it's like he's basically been reduced to like beating up a like a costume Batman in the wrestling ring. It's like in Mexico. It's like like as a as an event type thing, and that's all he does these days. That's all he's known for. Just breaking Batman's back. But then he's like he's reminded by someone who breaks into his house one night that hey, it's like someone is has basically gone and recreated the drug that made Bane, Venom. And this is after like Bane and Batman went on a secret mission to like destroy all the sources of venom. It's like in the world, and that according to Bane, like had left Batman dead, like in his effort to try and destroy this drug. So there's a lot. The storyline is basically like meant to like reckon with like Bane's creation, but also like the fact that hey, like 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 his one big moment was defeating Batman, and just what do you have after that? And I can appreciate Williamson's effort to try and reckon with that, but I don't necessarily think he comes up with like a real solid like answer for that. It's just like he thinks that by raising this question, like that's enough to get him to meaningfulness. But I don't think that it's like quite makes this like a truly memorable story. I mean, I think that it's fine. I mean, it's like hey, it's like it's Bane just trying to be like a good guy in the end, like trying to do right by like his association with Batman. But I don't know. It's like it's all right. I mean, the art's fine. like the story, at least tries to do something to reckon with the character's history, but I just don't think it quite gets there. So not bad overall, I guess.
Yeah, not bad. I think hey kid, don't do it. Don't
Drugs are
don't
bad.
looks
Don't do
bad.
drugs.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not a bad story. A little bit more redeeming, I think, than the Clayface one. But
Yeah, it's like I can actually like sympathize with with Bane's efforts here. Like
yeah,
Clayface is just kind of like, dude, what are you doing?
yeah. It is interesting in the beginning of the story that's, it's like, hey, yeah, I'm just known as the guy who broke Batman's back.
Hmm.
It's like, what it's like, yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty, um, it's all right, I guess. It's fine. And then, it's like, now it's this war again. Bane's war against, Venom. Was it Venom? Right. Venom.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, okay. All right. Cool. Yay.
yeah. Well,
So not a bad stories, but I'm not yeah, okay. So yeah, that's fine. It works.
yeah. Well, someone who doesn't have like like that kind of like drug problem, yeah, it's Catwoman. It's like she is definitely her own independent woman, like who's like doesn't need Batman's approval for anything. And in fact, like I imagine his approval would just like frustrate her even more. But I liked what G. Willow Wilson and artist Jamie McKelvey do in this story, because even though it's basically, I mean, it's like it's part heist story in the sense that she is trying to get back this brooch that her mother sold one day in order to make rent, that was supposed to be like a legendary symbol of French resistance during World War II, but that the like pawn shop owner told her, nah, this ain't it. I'll give you $200 for it. And when she finds it, later up for auction as an actual um, like representation of this, it's like of the era that like the like pawn shop owner was ostensibly just trying to deny her of. It's like she decides like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and try and and steal this back in order to like redeem, like show that like get what my mother determined it was worth And there's some like nice sentiment about just like the about the haves, like trying to keep the have nots down. And the it's like and the curator of the like of the exhibits being sold at the auction, like being the mash, being like having her own um like agenda behind this all. But I think what I liked about this story the most is that it actually shows Catwoman struggling to a great deal that I don't normally see her in the Batman stories that I read, because normally she's kind of deployed as a way to like frustrate Batman and just like throw him off his balance as like like as the guardian of Gotham. But this time we get to see Catwoman just struggling with her own agenda, like her own desires and wants. And also, we get to see Batman being a actually like more of a suave badass than than we normally see in like a Catwoman story, because he basically tells her like what's going on with this other woman who's like overseeing all the other, it's like other all the other items up for auction, how he's been building the case for her. But at the same time, though, he says like, hey, I'm telling you what's going on here. What you do with this information, that's up to you. So I liked seeing like how Wilson just like lets Batman just like leave Catwoman to her own devices, make her own choices, and in this case make her own mistakes. That was fun, and it's all handled really well by Jamie McKelvey, who does some really nice, clean, stylish art that he's done for years, like with Kieran Gillen in Phonogram, and also like The Wicked and Divine. So it's like this is good work here. And it's like, even if like like if there's like some like weird back and forth about just like what this brooch is meant to represent, it's like I think that it actually kind of like sticks the landing in the end. And hey, if Wilson and McKelvey like do want to like tackle Catwoman or Batman on an extended basis, then Sure, give them that, because this is a good argument for, like, for how they, bring out the best, in the characters here.
Yeah, this one's a good story. Yeah, the um, you sympathize with her, wanting to get this brooch back, right? You're like, "Oh, dirty,
Yeah,
dirty, rotten pawn shop, ripped her
Hmm.
off,
Yeah,
ripped her mom off, and like, you know what? She needs to get that thing back, and you're just right there, and then, we find it, sometime later, it's up for auction. It's like, oh, just all of this.
I mean, you think you
Just,
know how this story is going to go, but
yeah,
then it takes that turn.
yeah, exactly. So I think though, you know, it's a good motivational story. I think that this is probably, like, hey, this is whose bad day was it? It was her mom's.
Yeah,
that it Catwoman
it,
is just exacting justice for that, and that's what's happening here. And you feel for the character, and yeah, you do get the whole, Selena and Bruce thing. You expect to see that in Catwoman focuses. You expect to see that because that's just a part of the whole Batman thing. But yeah, I rather enjoyed this story. Yeah, the art, I have to agree with you, also good. And yeah, yeah, I'm not without going into too much detail. I think this is a good example of a good story in this set.
yeah. It's like I'm not sure whether I can say that that's for the case for the next one, because that's just like, focus on the one villain who maybe is not quite a villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery, and that's Mister Freeze. Because, like, before the advent of Batman the Animated Series, he was just like some forgotten guy. I mean, Grant Morrison featured him, had Animal Man running into him in Limbo in his Animal Man run, and like him saying like, "Oh, I could have been like a great villain if anyone given me attention." And well, Paul Dini and the rest of the crew on Batman the Animated Series did that, in the sense that it showed, hey, here's a guy who was like, trying to save his wife with a terminal disease, and how like corporate forces conspired against him. It's like, and yeah, he could have been like a hero. It's like, but no, it just didn't work out that way. And now he's just like left fighting against Batman and anyone else who crosses his path in order to save his wife. And that's the premise here that we come with for for the Freeze's one bad day story, the Darkest Winter, written by Jerry Dugan, with art by Matteo Scalera, who is like, Scalera is like, usually known for, like, I think his high energy art in his Marvel work, and also with Rick Remender on Black Science. But here he does like some more like moodier. It's like, art, like dramatic work as Batman and Robin, try like take out some thugs during Christmas, and Robin just like, wonders, what, are there any like members of your Rogues Alley who are just like, not worthy of just being beaten up on a regular basis? And Batman goes, there's one guy, Mister Freeze. He's could be worthy of of redemption. And so they try to suggest him, try to give Freeze the space he needs in order to help cure his wife, but things don't go that way. And we're also treated to a flashback story where it's implied that Freeze is just very controlling, like, of his wife's like of his wife's life, and that he doesn't like how she's just, interacting with other people and just not being tied, devoted to his needs, 24/7. And it's like it I can see that, but at the same time, though, like the whole storyline is meant to like show that Freeze does have a heart, and all, and I guess that's fine. But I can't say that, but it's also one that's like, pretty straightforward and obvious, in terms of how it just it presents the this particular villainous character. And I guess that leads to another story where I think it's fine, but I don't know. It's like I wouldn't say there's like a this is like a definitive freeze story. For my money, that's still like his original introduction in Batman the Animated Series, where like we're introduced to where they redefine his origin for the modern era, and then Batman lets us know that there's only one way to cure a cold.
um, yeah, this story is little. Well, let me just say it this way. There's already been plenty that defined Victor Freeze, as we call him, especially from the original Batman the Animated Series, where this concept was kind of introduced. Yeah, it was not kind of. It was introduced in that series. When you watch it, when you read it here, it's it's adding this other dimension that you didn't see and to the character, and it's sort of it's a strange thing, and I don't know that if it's been represented before, but I think that it's it's a little bit condemning of him, and whereas before, we kind of saw him more as a you
A
kind of have
tragic figure.
yeah, and it's a sympathy for the devil kind of a thing, and it's very um a tragic figure. Now, it's the stuff is still represented here, but he's still just he's more cold-blooded in this characterization in a lot of ways.
But he
But
makes that snow angel at the end.
yeah, he does. So I think it's not bad. You know, um and when you're reading the story and the thing that you were talking about, like, okay, there is, and here's Batman, based on, Robin's essentially just like, hey, here's, okay, let's do this. Nice. Here's an old LexCorp lab. Have fun. Um, you know, go on ahead, do the thing you're gonna do. Why don't you bring her down here? No. Oh, okay. So you're just a control freak. That's what you're trying to say. Okay. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's, okay, here's your chance to take care of things, and like, what if you actually did the thing, Mr. Scientist? What if you use science to help Nora, your wife? Then what? So, or bring her back, I mean, we have no idea, and it's like the big enigma. No offense here, but it's the big thing here. It's like, hey, can he actually do it, right? But we never ever. I don't think we've ever seen it. However, I don't. I kind of it's her faith in him is an interesting aspect. I think is probably a more interesting aspect that comes out in the story, right? Like the flashback stories. So that's I think it's a good story. I just think it just kind of characterizes him in a way that most people probably won't expect, and I certainly didn't expect. So um
Mm.
so that's my 2 cents on that one. So
All right. Well, this brings us to like another villain, one who's meant to have like a redemptive arc in this volume, and this is like something that I think is meant to tie into like a larger continuity for the it's like for the character, but I'm not but I'm not really sure how that works out. But this is basically like the Penguin's story about how he was usurped from his crime empire by by his henchman known as the Umbrella Man. Like he was the guy who always carried the Penguin's umbrella, like whenever he was like around town. But then he took the penguin down when he was least expecting it. Now Oswald Cobblepot is just like left like down to ponder his fate, and to get to get a gun with with a with like one or two bullets left from a it's like from a random guy who who's selling a gun. So and that's how he's going to get his empire back. And this is like the story comes to us from from writer John Ridley, like Academy Award winner John Ridley for 12 Years a Slave, and he was also like done like also additional like DC work such as I like the I Am Batman series, which tried to establish like Luke Fox as the new as a new Batman, and also like Giuseppe Camuncoli, who's done like lots of like superhero work like for Marvel and for DC, particularly with like the Spider-Man Worldwide series with Dan Slott, and also like a sizable run on Hellblazer, it's like with Stefano Landini, like for DC as well. But this is basically like like a story of like a villain like trying to come back up like after he's like been put down. And the thing is, I probably would have enjoyed this story more if I hadn't already read a story with the exact same premise from DC, because in current continuity, um the Penguin faked his death in order to like basically like show that Batman had finally killed someone, and that served to unleash the failsafe robot on on Batman to try and take him down, because basically failsafe was a creation that his Batman's backup personality Zur-En-Arrh I created in case he ever decided Batman ever went too far over the line like and killed someone. So basically, I don't know how Penguin knew this, or if like he even knew this was part of his plan. But basically, him like faking his death, like basically like helped to ruin Batman's life. But then, and then he went off to live in another city, like living as a florist until some until like a government a government agent first seen in the Batman Killing Time miniseries, also from Tom King, found out that he was still alive, and then just like recruited him to like try and take back his empire, because apparently like this is part of Amanda Waller's larger plan to like ruin the lives of every superhero in the DC universe. So basically, the Penguin in this 12 issue series from Tom King was basically going to like retake his position in it's like in the in like larger Gotham crime scene. So imagine my surprise when I started reading this and saw, oh, it's Penguin retaking his position in the larger Gotham crime scene, with with a group of people that he recruited, from his own history. Huh. So this is something that I, I probably would have enjoyed more if I hadn't read this story, if I hadn't been in the middle of reading this story. But it's it's not bad. But I just kind of feel that I like the whole it's delicious thrust of seeing a villain try and reclaim his empire. Well, that was just like taken out from under me by a writer who we'll be talking about more like in a little bit. I imagine this probably might have read a bit differently for you, John, since you've got no reference for this Penguin storyline that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't. I think I may have heard of it, but I've not read it. Yeah, so this particular one, pretty good. I liked it. It was
Cool.
fine. And it was yeah, just kind of an interesting thing, 3 bullets in a gun. It's like, all right, you're gonna take your empire back. Okay. There's a lot of reflection about how he does things. And so is it his bad day? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I didn't quite see it like that. I just saw it more as like, okay, I'm coming back. And it works as a storyline for me. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit different than I maybe what I was expecting. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah, I think it does work though.
Okay, cool. So glad you enjoyed it. And as far as like our next story, Two Face. This is another story that I think is like mired in like current continuity because also it's coming from the writer of Detective Comics at the time, Mariko Tamaki, and there are references to like other characters like of the era like Mayor Nakano, but it's also tries to show us like a version of Two Face who's trying to make the best of his life. It's like he's been basically been reinstated as a DA, but the mayor doesn't trust him. And he's like, you step out of line one time, Harvey. It's like, and you're going back to Arkham for you. It's like, and but the thing is though, it's like Harvey's trying to do right by things, and he's trying to like set up a nice birthday for his dad, which is nice, but his dad, like like doesn't really like him, and it's like, and by the time like the and even though it's like like it doesn't seem like, and even though okay, the big thrust of the series is that Harvey like gets a message saying that like something like someone's gonna take out his dad for his birthday party, and Batman is trying to figure out just who could do this, but he doesn't find any evidence. But then it turns out that, oh well, maybe Harvey's not as back to normal as things would seem, and well, it's like he gets his revenge on his dad for stuff, I guess. I mean, I didn't really quite see the point of the story. It's not something that like struck me as like oh, this is like like illuminating me into like any like like, unknown like aspects of like Two Face's mind. I mean, even the Penguin story that we just talked about, even if like it was ruined for me because I had been read a story that was just like that. This that story wasn't like necessarily bad on its own terms. This one, I don't know. It's like I'm just kind of wondering like what the point of it all was in the end. I mean, Javier Fernandez has some nice rough art that like gives us a good brutal like Two Face, but overall it's like it's like I could take or leave the story. It didn't leave much of an impression on me, and as the second story I read in this collection, it's like it did not like it did not like do a good job of like showing me that like there was going to be like better stories coming after it. I don't know, John, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. It was very, it was not as good of a story as I would like to have seen from it, and I was like, okay, so it just didn't really, really didn't jive. I'm sorry, it's like I don't have anything to be sorry about, but it's like it. I was like, okay, well, and then they talk about Two Face and and he's supposedly kind of back, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, okay, yeah, even I don't know, is that his girlfriend? Kind of wonders, like, okay, what are fix that face of yours, like, it's like, okay, he's kind of back, and I mean, the story starts off, like contemplating like the redemption of the character, right? And then
Yeah.
you get into and then you're actually in it, and um, and then his father's birthday comes up, but it's yeah, it just appears to be just not a great. Yeah, it's just not a good execution, I'm afraid. So, yeah, it's all right. It's just not the. What's yeah? I would say what's the point of this
Yeah,
story? It just it yeah, not much to do with this one. So, yeah, it's not one of not one of the stronger stories here.
agreed. But at least like coming into these stories the way where we have, at least like we're ending on like what is arguably like the strongest of these. It's like of these one shots, and that would be Tom King and Mitch Gerard's The Riddler, Deadly Rains, which starts off with like from the point of view of just some random guy who's talking to his wife about like whether or not they can get their like daughter to a soccer practice or not, and whether or not like the daughter like actually wants to do it. But then we find out that as we're seeing it from this guy's perspective, like the perspective just blacks out in after like a couple pages and a few panels. That's because the Riddler just came to this guy on the street and shot him in the head. Why did the Riddler shoot this rando like in the street like and kill him dead? Because that's not what the Riddler does. The Riddler like delivers clues in order to like for the Batman to solve so that like hey like the Riddler can like prove his like intellectual superiority like to the Batman. And the story is all about just like the Riddler just like saying like hey, I'm done with that. Like what here's how things are going to be from now on. And it's like and it shows you like the Riddler just demonstrating like how like what he can do like when like to people when he knows all the angles when like there is nothing to be solved when everyone is an open book and can be manipulated at will by him because he's got all the knowledge and how to like manipulate them in the ways that they want. This is being told though in parallel with a revised origin story for the Riddler as he goes through life in a private school, struggling to meet the demands of his father, who apparently had him in a dalliance with a woman of like less reputable means, but as as young Edward Nigma is trying to memorize all the stuff for classes, know all the angles, like solve every problem. Well, he just can't get these riddles that this one teacher throws at him. Like this is like the teacher that wants to inspire him to get him like to be better than himself. It's like to get beyond like the knowledge of like what regular people do, and that is just like the right. Maybe it's the right thing for him, but it's also like the wrong time, like for young Edward Nigma to like to learn this. And King and Gerard's like they work really well together, and they tell and like King loves like like having fun with like the structure of stories, just setting up how the panels work and his like deliberate like nine panel grids and how these things like like work work in order to tell the story. And it's also worth noting that this is probably meant that the out of continuity nature of these stories, because this is something that I had to like think about for a second. But this is meant to be a story that's told a good way into Batman's career. In fact, considering that Christopher Gordon is meant to be like roughly like I mean a like a middle-aged guy in the current continuity. Seeing him here, you see him as like oh, this is like how like Commissioner Gordon was back in the pre Flashpoint continuity, like the old guy on the brink of retirement, but just being just like doing his like stuff as like to like that's still sticking with the things because he's like the one honest cop at Gotham. But seeing him here, it's like as an old man like dealing with this stuff. It lets you know that hey, this is a like storyline that's meant to be like after all the like the familiar like conflicts and all. It's like like all the like because King has done like like several like Riddler's a couple of Riddler stories like in his Batman run, most memorably the War of Jokes and Riddles, but like this story is kind of meant to be like hey, it's like after that later into Batman's career, and and if you accept that, it makes sense that hey, it's like when Riddler just says, hey, I'm not going to do things like the way they are anymore. Like in fact, like whenever like because you misunderstood why I'm doing things now, people have died. So Batman, if you don't want people to die anymore, you are not going to mess with me ever again. And at one time, it seems like and my initial reading of the story, I kind of felt that, hey, it's the Riddler just, like saying that Batman, like, hey, that, that's it. You can't touch me. And then Batman going, oh, no, yeah, I can. But rereading it again, it's like, there's a much, darker, like interpretation of the story that, in the sense that, in the end, maybe, Batman has crossed the line with how he's dealt with Riddler, particularly how you see, like how those like final black panels match up with the death of the original, like of the original point of view character at the start of the story. So yeah, I like what it implies here, even if it doesn't like specifically state that. But yeah, it's like the story works as like a modern like take on the Riddler's origin, and also what could possibly be like the final story between Batman and the Riddler as well. So I will say that this is the first story I read in this collection, and yeah, it's like it was kind of a struggle for most of them that weren't written by Alan Moore to measure up to this one. So I don't know about you, John, though.
Well, this is the last story I read, and it was just really good story. It was it was dark, um, very like you think of everything you've ever heard, like in regular in the other media for about the Joker is just kind of what's the riddle me this, Batman? It's
Yeah.
not even said.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like it's not even said. That's the thing. And I think that's the charm of the story. It's dark. It's got yeah, and um you have, I think this is a really good proper kind of one bad day for Edward Nigma, if you will. So it's a good it's a good origin story, and like current continuity, like current like present time, like what's he doing now story, and it's just I found it engaging with consequence, and just like, oh, this is like this is how I think the Riddler should be portrayed in a lot of ways. I think it's just good. That was my opinion of it. I think it has a lot of it's good because it's dark. I think that's what it is. It just reflects a lot of what I expect. So
Yeah, it's like there's like I think like even like while the like like global reset from the New 52 like has like like offered up like a lot of like new reinterpretations of like Batman villains. I think none of them have benefited more from that than the Riddler from like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Year Zero storyline to like King's War of Jokes and Riddles to like to also this storyline as well. It's basically like done a lot to like establish that the Riddler, he's not just the guy who leaves
with
clues for the Batmans to solve.
question marks on it, right?
Yeah, I mean I mean the Riddler has always had this point like he's the guy who challenges Batman's intellect. You know, but
Hmm.
like I think like recent years have done a lot to show about just just what he can do, like like while doing that, but also just like broadening the scope of that of that challenge. like, and this is like just another story that just does a good job of just like of illustrating that. And I guess, and well, I think that like they're definitely good stories here. I I'd say that if you're gonna buy like if you didn't want to buy like the whole box set, because that's what DC is offering right now. It's like you can buy like the entire series of One Bad Day one shots in hardcover in a box set, which is what John got me, and thanks again for that. So, but you also buy them individually as well, and I think that yeah, it's like $18 for like a hardcover for a 64-page hardcover is ludicrous, but the Riddler one is arguably the one that's most worth that. But that being said, you can get them all buy them all for like 80 $90 through Amazon, like in that box set is like the best deal you could hope for there.
Yep, I agree completely with that. And yeah, this was it was good to read through this set. The highs and lows, all of it together. So some really good artwork. And I think as a set, if you can get it for a good price, it's probably worth your time and shelf space.
Yeah, and yeah, John, thank you again for this, because like this is something that I had been eyeing on Amazon during their like buy two get one free sales, but I couldn't find anything to match up with it in terms of like price points. So yeah, it's like, dude, it's like I appreciate this, because yeah, it's like you saved me the money of like having to like find out how good this was myself.
Yep. Hey, no worries. I'm glad you like it, and I in turn also like it. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Assuming everything goes correctly, so Christine will be joining us to talk about the latest Star Trek Lower Decks graphic novel, Warp Your Own Way. It's a choose your own adventure story with math.
Sweet maths. All right, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Click.
There's everyone.